Hello, my name is Lisa Bush, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the Affordable Integrated Municipal Software webinar. Right now, everybody should be looking at my desktop. If you do have questions throughout the presentation, you can chat with me. You could take yourself off mute, or I'm going to stay on at the end if there are any questions. So it's 10 o'clock Central. Let's go ahead and get started. First of all, these are some of the topics that we're going to cover today. One is our integrated solution. With the Central Square technology solution, you're able to automate your entire organization. So you're not having to do any manual workarounds. Everything works together. We've got over 30 different products. We even give you the ability to post in detail so that if you're in the accounting system, you can actually see employees that you've paid, customers that have been billed, even receipts at the counter. So it's that tightly integrated. We're going to spend the first part of the presentation talking about our fund accounting solution. It's designed from the ground up for local government. We give you the ability to track all of your funds in one single database. You're going to get line item budgeting, so you're going to know at any point funds that are available. We're going to also talk about the utility billing solution. It's tightly integrated. The billing solution lets you bill for as many different metered, non-metered, and non-recurring charges. It is a true cycle billing, so that if you've got customers that move in mid-cycle or move out, you're able to easily prorate those bills so that you don't have to manually do that. And then we'll talk about things like emailing utility bills, payments on your website, working with different automated reading services. So we'll cover that in the billing. And at the very end, we'll talk about the importance of having that one database of names and addresses. With the USTI solution, you could get a call from one of your constituents, and you could look them up and actually see everything about that person. You can see their utility bill, their code violation, their business license, their cemetery plot, everything tied to that person. We have the exact same view by address. A lot of our customers actually have us bring in information from the county so that you start with a database of all your properties, who owns it, and the valuation. At the very end, we'll talk about our new report designer. This tool gives you the ability to create any type of a financial report, and the same thing is true for utility billing. So we've got a lot of reports that come standard, but this tool allows you to create those unique reports to your organization. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up, this is the screen that you would see whenever you log into our software. So as I mentioned earlier, we have over 30 different integrated products. You pick and choose just the ones that you want to automate. We're going to start with the financials, and I'm going to click on the dollar sign. And even within this area, you're going to be able to pick and choose which parts of the financial system do you need. What's unique about our solution is because it's designed for local government, you're able to track all of your funds in one integrated database. I talk to a lot of people that use QuickBooks, and with QuickBooks, they typically have to set up different companies, and they're in and out, and it really doesn't give them that consolidated financials and sort by fund. So this is designed to do that. The way our menus are set up, or things that you do daily, are under the daily tab. Things that you might do once a month or once a year, we're going to have those activities under the periodic tab. And this is true for everything that you're going to see today. We also have a reports tab. All of the applications come with reports. You get unlimited history. All of our reports you can email, you can print it to the screen, you can take that information and drop to Word or drop to Excel. So once again, it's very similar to a Microsoft product. We're going to look at inquiries. Our solution gives you the ability to keep unlimited history. So if you've been using it for 10 years, you can go back and print a financial statement from 10 years ago. So once again, all that history is available. Under tables, this is where you start out at the beginning. This is where you actually set the system up. We're not going to spend a lot of time in tables today, but it's very flexible so that things like your chart of accounts, we're able to install this all over North America. It's very flexible on creating your chart of accounts. And we do have the ability to pull out financial statements based on those different segments, such as I want to pull out a report just for the water fund or the sewer fund, or maybe you want to pull it out by department. So it's all in how you define that chart of accounts. So under daily, the heart of the system is the general ledger. Everything integrates with the GL. No more manual journal entries. Let's take a look at the screen that you're going to go to create a journal entry. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up an example here. Couple of key things I want to point out. One is if you look at the toolbar, it's like any other Microsoft product. So navigation's identical. If you have a question throughout the software, you simply hit the telephone. Within the software, you can electronically submit a support call. We know what products you're using. We know what menu option. Send us a question and let us know, do you want a phone call or an email? So once again, very easy to get help. Now, if you look at this screen, our solution is a date-driven system. And here are the benefits to that. You're able to post things when you need to post it. As an example, today's July 23rd, 2019. Let's say I need to post this back to November 2018. I've got the ability to post to any period. Now, you can also lock down a period so that you can't post. So it's up to you if you want to have that flexibility. We also have flexibility when it comes to opening a year and closing a year. As an example, let's say your year ended June 30th and you want to go ahead and close it today. Go ahead and do it. Even though maybe your auditors won't be on site for a couple of months, I can close it and reopen it. So you're not at the mercy of the accounting software. You can operate the way you need to operate. So that's the importance of that post period. Now, we're going to also make sure on all of your transactions that you're in balance. Even if I'm doing a journal entry that may cross funds, I'm going to make sure you're in balance. Now, look at this option here for projects. This is one of those products some of our cities use, some don't. If you need to track grants or projects that span multiple years, you have the ability to tag one of those projects as you do journal entries, as you pay your bills, even payroll time. So it gives you the ability to track those projects and you don't have to key that into your account structure. It's something off to the side, but it's integrated. So if you wanted to find out, over the life of that project, maybe it's 7 years, I can run a financial statement and pick up every dollar to see what it cost you. Now, if you notice this little button called recurring, you're going to see this feature. We have it in purchase orders, we have it in payables and journals. You can create a template where it defaults the accounting. And maybe the only thing you want to change is the dollar amount, or you can change the accounts. But it gives you the ability to create templates, call it what you want, and it remembers the accounting. So really important when you're paying your bills so that you don't always have to remember what accounts to charge that off to. Now, as I mentioned, the heart of this system is the general ledger. Everything flows in. And if you want to look at those entries before you post or after you post, you can do that. You can do it, certain user. You could do it a certain date range. So I want to look at how these entries from payroll got posted in. I'm going to be able to see a report that's going to show me all those journal entries that the system created and how it posted into the GL. Now, as I mentioned, this is a report. If I want to, I can email this report. I can go to Word or Excel or create a PDF. It's just like a Microsoft product, so easy to do. Now, under periodic, this is where you're going to do things like you're going to create your budget, you're going to maybe close your year, you're going to make changes to your budget. We all know how important budgeting is in fund accounting. A lot of our customers like to use Excel, and they'll actually use Budget Excellence so that they'll export their current history so that they can create a new budget. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up this report. And I'm going to just go ahead and grab all of my accounts because this, maybe I'm getting ready to budget for a new year. And I could have been selective. I could have said, well, let's just start with the general fund or the water fund, or maybe I want to look at revenue first. But I'm going to look at everything, and I'm going to go to Excel. And in just a second, it's going to create a workbook on my toolbar. Here it is. And so I have literally every account for all of my funds. I know what type. I've got the previous year budget. I've even got actuals, projected numbers because I'm in the middle of the budget year. But I can get a breakdown by period so that I've got good information to create a new budget. I'm actually going to create that new budget in Excel. So I would come down here and, create my new budget, and everything is, I've got all the information. I might go through different iterations, when the council finally says this is official. Once they do that, you simply just upload from Excel into the accounting system. You're not having to rekey in those budget figures. So once it's in, when you run your financial statements, we're going to give you that budget availability. And when you look up accounts, you're going to have that budget availability. Even as you pay your bills or maybe do purchase orders, do you want a warning if you're over your budget? So once it's in, it's tracking it very tightly. Now, we have some customers, maybe you don't want to use Excel. You can actually do budget worksheets and across the board changes right in the general ledger. The difference is you're going to key in your new budget. But once it's in, we'll track it the same way. But as I mentioned, a lot of our customers like to use Excel. Now, once that budget's in, we have some accounts that need to do changes in the middle of the year. So let's say you've got changes that you want to change, that I had to move money from this account to that account. And I can track what I moved and why I moved it. I also track this change on my financial statements. What was the original budget? What's the revised budget? Or I even have a budget report that will literally track by account number, what did you budget? Show me the actual, but show me any changes. So budget is very integrated in with this accounting system. As I mentioned, we make it easy to close the year. We have a wizard. I can close it, but remember, I can reopen it. We also have a nice feature here if I need to reverse something. If I make a mistake, I can look it up. Maybe I know something happened in payroll, and if that's all I know, I can search. If I know a dollar amount or a date range, all of these fields, the more information you tell it, the shorter the list. But once I find that transaction, if this is the entry that I want to reverse, I simply hit post. The system makes the offsetting entry. I'm not having to back it out. I can move forward, but there's a complete audit trail. So if you do make a mistake, it's very forgiving. Now, reports. These reports come standard with the general ledger. Here's a report that you would probably want to run for your board meeting. It's the statement of revenues and expenditures. Now, the first question is it the original budget or revised? Do I want to see a previous year comparison? Some like that. We're going to ask you, how do you like to see your budget, by percentage or dollar amounts? I can run this literally for any year, any period. I can also slice it out based on your chart of accounts. So if I leave it blank, it's going to sort by fund. Or maybe I want to sort by fund, but I only want just a general fund. I've got a bunch of funds. Or maybe I want to pull it out for a certain department. That's how I've set my chart of accounts up. But all of the accounts or all of the information is in one database. You're not having to go to different companies that you have to with QuickBooks. So this gives you that ability to see it all. I've got line item budgeting, so at any point I can see what's the budget, what's the actual, how much is available. I'm going to be able to see this for revenues and expenditures. And once again, I can slice it out based on that chart of accounts. All the reports, as I mentioned, you can email, you can go to Word, you can go to Excel, and so we have that capability. Now, other things that you might, for those that use purchase orders, this report will show you not only what have you budgeted, what have you spent, but are there any outstanding purchase orders? So you get a little better feel of the balance. So that's one of those optional products. We have some that want integrated purchase orders, some that don't. If you do, you can add it when you want. You're going to be able to see that reflected in this balance. So really good financial reports to run your municipality. I can even do a balance sheet for one fund or all funds or a range of funds. But once again, I'm in one integrated database for all of my funds. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And so here I can see a balance sheet for all of my different funds individually, or I could have had a combined one. So true fund accounting. Now, like I said, these reports come standard. We also have some other tools to create additional reports. One is we have a tool called Report Excellence, and it's designed for customers that love to use Excel. And maybe you've got a certain report that you've created in Excel, and you don't want to have to redo it each month. You can actually attach your Excel workbook to the accounting software so that you can just download the new numbers each month and drive to that report. You can also use it for something that I call my audit file. And this is a report that maybe you want to send to your auditor because they're coming on site and they want to see a lot of detail on what happened last year. Now, you could do periods or you can do specific dates. Maybe they want to know these 7 days 10 years ago. I could pull out that detail. I'm going to say they're going to want to see what happened in 2018, and I'm on a calendar year, so I'll just grab these 12 months. Now, I could even be selective on what types of accounts. Maybe they want to see just revenue or expenditures. I'm going to say they want to see everything. And you can even say a certain fund or a certain department, depending on how you've set up your chart of accounts. So I went ahead and just said, give me everything. And so it just created this file. And like I said, I call it my audit file. And right here it is. Wow, did I just shut it down? Oh, here it is. Okay, so literally all detailed transactions for that point in time. And I've got the account number, the description, the type, the dates. I pick up document numbers, so if it was a receipt or an invoice or a check number, I've got PO and vendor information. I've even got debits and credits. And then on the far right-hand side, I've got projects if something's tied to a project. So it's that easy to get detail out of the system. You can just email this to your auditor, and then they can start their audit before they come on site. So once again, very easy to do. Now, kind of going back to the general ledger, we've got some really good inquiries. So let's take a look at a couple here. On this example, I'm going to say we need to look up something that's $25. We don't know when it happened or where it came from. We're kind of looking for a needle in a haystack. I can search. And remember, I'm searching all my funds. And I'll grab this transaction. So here's an example where I'm paying the copier lease. It started in accounts payable. Here's all the accounting, but I want to know more. I can hit this little button, show me more. So I can see the invoice or the purchase order information. I can see the status of the check. And because I attached that invoice, I can double click and actually see the invoice that was attached when I paid that invoice. So, or maybe who approved it. So that's drilling all the way back to, the invoice to pay that document. Let's take a look at another one. I'm going to look at an example where I've done my billing. And you can see how tightly integrated your utility billing can be with your accounting. But this could be any billing or any other transaction. So I'm going to look at where I've done my utility billing. Now, I could look at any account for any year. So if I've been using it 10 years, I can go back 10 years and see detail. I can print a report. I can do detail or summary. And on this example for this one account number, these are all the billings that I did over on the billing side. This is how it was integrated in. I want to know more. I could go here to any month and drill down and get detail. I did one billing in February, and here's the total credit. If I drill down again, I can see the journal that the system creates for you when you do the billing. So if you're using two different systems for billing and accounting, you're having to do this. We're going to create that for you, but we take it a step further. So if I want to see the customers that were billed in the billing, I can drill down and see what makes up that journal. Because we know you're billing for a lot of different services like water and sewer and maybe gas and electric. We can break all of that out. So once again, that's giving you the ability to post in detail. Let's look at one more inquiry. And here's an example that I can do for any year, any month, and I can see all of my funds. Now, I've only got two set up. You can have as many as you want. I'm going to double click on the general fund, and I can see I've got two departments. I might have five. I can see the budget and balance for each one. I can see expenditures, revenue, balance. I can drill down and see detailed transactions. So I can see that there were some receipts at the counter. I can see a payroll run. Let's take a look at that. So we did a payroll. It created a bunch of entries because I'm tracking where all these guys are paid from. But if I want to know more, I can say, show me more. And I can see these are the employees that were paid in the payroll module, but I can see how it comes into the GL. Once again, I can even take it a step further and look at the individual employee check stubs. So very tightly integrated, everything works together. You add only the pieces that you need for your municipality. So like I said, tons of inquiries. Tables are where you get started. Now, typically in this setting, I don't cover purchase orders, but I just want you to know if you need that capability, we have it. It's going to print purchase orders. It's tightly integrated. You're not having to rekey in that information into accounts payable. Everything flows. Now, I definitely do cover accounts payable. And let's take a look at where you're going to pay your invoices. And we'll take a look at some of the features that we have. Okay, here's the screen. If I had a new one, I would just say new. What's nice about this is if you don't know the vendor number, you can right click and do a search. So, tell me what you know about the vendor and we can search. If you've got vendors that are maybe deducting it from your checking, we can record it. We even have the ability that you can set up certain vendors to electronically be paid. So instead of a paper check, they get an email and they know to check their bank account the next day because you electronically paid that invoice. If you're trying to pay the same invoice to the same vendor, we're going to say, hey, you've already paid this. This is a feature everybody likes, separate checks. Every once in a while, you may have an invoice, you key it in, and then maybe later on in the month, you get your second invoice from that vendor, but they tell you they want a separate check. You just note separate check. We can run them through the same check run. We're not going to combine them if you check that box. Now, if you do use purchase orders, you right-click, we bring in the accounting. You're not going to have to recode it. It's already happened, and then you can just make any adjustments. Notice on this example, the invoice is $1,500. Down below, I can charge it off to as many different accounts, as many different funds, and send that vendor one check if that's the way you want to set it up. So once again, we're going to make sure that you completely allocate this so that you don't have maybe a couple dollars that you haven't allocated. If you do the attachment right here of the invoice, it will stay with the record. So easy to do, just like you're attaching an invoice, an email attachment, it stays with the record. Here is the recurring button. So you can pick which bill you want to pay and it defaults the accounting. You can make any tweaks, but it's fast and easy to process those. So once we get it entered in, most of our municipalities have some sort of an approval process. So I can do, enter in payments a little bit each day. And then maybe it's time for the council meeting and I can run this report, my approval report. And I'm going to say the council likes to see it by fund through today. So what we're going to do is we're going to go find all of those tables that we've keyed in through today and sort it by fund. So when you go to the council meeting, they can see all of the payables, what are you paying, when is it due, how much is it, what account number is it coming out of. And what they really like is on the far right-hand side, do you have budget availability? How are we doing with the budget? Now, I could have had a warning when I key that in. Do you want a warning if you're over budget, or do you want it to stop you? So those are a couple things you can turn on or turn off. But we've had our meeting. Maybe there's a couple that they don't want to pay right now. It's not too late. You can come up here and actually deselect or make a change. So as an example, if I don't want to pay that $15,000 invoice right now, I can uncheck it. It's still in there. It's going to show up the next time. Or maybe you've got an example where they only want to pay $10,000. Do a partial payment. The balance of $3,150 will still be in there the next time you want to, do the check run. So you can tweak this. If all's good, you can come down here and, you can print your checks. Or if you want to find out how much do I need in all my funds before the check run, I can run this report up here. Now, I can do things like void checks. I can also lock it down that maybe only one person can void checks. Even though Sally can enter in invoices, Lisa's the only one that can actually void. So you can have separation of duty based on what you need certain people to do. So all in part of the setup. You're going to notice we have a ton of accounts payable reports, unlimited history. You're going to always have record of every check you've ever issued through the system. I can even, rerun those check registers and sort it a lot of different ways. You're going to have inquiries. And here's one that I like. It's our check drill down. It's by vendor. Okay, I don't know the vendor, but I know it starts with an A. I can search. We even have different statuses. Those ones that are inactive or temporary, I may or may not want to include. And I could even do, maybe I know the word office is in the middle. I could do star office star. So lots of ways to search, and this is true for all the products that you're going to see today. But once I find that vendor, I can literally see every check I've issued. If anything's been voided, I'm going to know that. I come over here and I can see what invoice or invoices were paid from that check. I can see the accounting. I can see the status of the check. And here is the attachment. And I can have multiple attachments. Maybe who approved it, the actual invoice, whatever attachments you want, you can attach. But like I said, lots of inquiries. You can look up, what's still open, history by vendor, lots of things that work together there. Now, to me, the toughest part of your job is bank reconciliation. And through our cash control, it's going to do a couple key things. And one of those is reconciling your bank statement. The first thing you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to create deposits. And if you leave it blank, we're going to bring in the money from all the different areas. Maybe, you want to do it just from the front counter or just from the billing office. So you can pick and choose. But once you bring that process, it's going to actually bring in all the detailed transactions based on your criteria. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, I'm going to pick the bank and I'm going to say select all. I could uncheck some of these. And if this was good, I could just go ahead and post and create a deposit transaction and print a deposit slip that I can attach to these checking cash. I can even do it by a certain cash drawer. Maybe I'm a bigger place and I want to pull it in from the one at the drive-through. I can even do a split deposit. I might have a check and it needs to go into two totally different accounts. I can handle that. What's nice is you've recorded that deposit. When you come here to reconcile your bank statement, you're going to see not only deposits, checks you've issued, you're going to also see any journal entries. So if you've recorded bank fees or wire transfers, all of that's going to be right here in one place so that you can literally reconcile that statement under one umbrella. Now, we have some clients that like to bring in a file from the bank. We have different bank formats so that it electronically will match everything versus you having to do that. So regardless of how you do it, once you're finished, you're going to see everything that was reconciled, what's still open. It's a great report for your auditor. So we pull it all together. And once again, this is for all your funds. Now, there's a few other things here. There's reports. I might want to reprint a deposit slip, or I might want to run a report to see all the deposits in the last 3 weeks and see what's cleared. Or I might want to do a check register and include payroll checks and payable checks. So lots of reports. I even have a bank statement report that you can run to see how it mirrors, what you have at the bank versus in the accounting software. And then one inquiry here that I can actually look up by bank and see all the deposits. I can pick a deposit and see what made up that deposit. So double click and I can see this was just one check, but if it was checking cash, I would see all that detail. So all of that works together. Now, the other area I wanted to point out is our cash receipts. Think of this as people coming in and you're wanting to receipt things at the counter. It's just like a cash register. And most of our municipalities, they've got lots of people walking in paying for lots of different things. Most of the time, somebody's walking in to pay their utility bill. So you can hit utility, and if they don't know their account number, you can say, well, do you know your first name, your last name, your address, your phone number? Lots of ways to search. And once you find the right customer, it's going to look at the billing product. Here's the balance. And if they're paying all of it, they can just accept it. And so if I accept it, I'll put that out there. At the same time, there may be some sort of a miscellaneous thing that you want a receipt for. Maybe right now you're doing a handwritten receipt. You can have a long list that you create of other things that you might receipt for. So I'm going to say it's a permit. And I can do a running total. I could keep adding on to this. So I'm able to literally receipt for anything, print a receipt, but handle the money once. Because here's what's going to happen. When I do post, I'm going to send the utility payments to the utility product. It's going to apply that just as if you keyed it in there. On this miscellaneous transaction, I'm going to create a journal entry for you. You don't have to do that. So I could also pay my court citation, my tax bill. I could keep going on and on and on. We also have a feature, and I talked about this at the very beginning. If somebody knows their name, I can bring in all their balances. I've got one check, what do I owe you? And just by looking up the name, I can bring in all the balances. So if this customer had multiple utility accounts, tax accounts, invoices that you've sent them, I can pick and choose, or I could select all. So if I know the name, I can bring in the balances that way too. Now with this, it's going to, if it needs to make change, on this example, if they gave you $200, it's going to make change. If you've got an example where you've got checks and cash on the same receipt, it's going to reflect that so that you've got that detail. So once again, you handle the money once, no more handwritten receipts. And you're going to be able to, at any point, reprint a receipt. So it's not lost. I can always reprint it. You've also got nice reports for your auditors. If they want to know everything you receipted this year, I could do from date to date, or maybe a certain point in time, this one date 10 years ago. But you can also decide, well, how do you want to sort it? Do you like to see the report by the receipt number? Do you want to see it, all your checks together, your cash together, your credit cards, or your utility payments, your tax payments, your court payments? It's all dependent on how you select these boxes on how you see that detail. But you're going to always get at the bottom how much is going to all the different areas, but once again, you handle the money once. So this is, one way that you can get money into the system. So that's one easy way. That's people at the counter. We also have a lot of folks that, they want payments on their website. So I'm going to move this and I'm going to show you how if you use your website, payments can be totally integrated into all of our different products. It's just another way to get money into the system. Now, in this example, I'm going to pretend like I am one of your customers. I signed up to get my bill emailed. I click on the link. It takes me to your city's portal, your name, your logo. I know I'm at the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And I can, because I signed up to get my bill emailed, I can view my bill. I can also pay my bill. Now, if you've got customers that have multiple accounts, they can see all of their accounts in one portal. So I can come up here and view, and I can see all the bills. Now, I can view it, I can print it. You're able to upload as many bills as you want. This is essentially what you mailed them. So if you're drafting this payment, hey, they look at it, that's all they're going to do. I can also pay this. And in this example, because the bill's sitting there, I know exactly how much it is. And it's going to calculate a convenience fee. Your city gets all of their money. It's a calculated, the customer has to accept it, but any payment that you're making for utilities or courts or tax billing, they're all integrated. You don't have to key that in. You get your money the next business day. Now, you might have some customers that they didn't sign up to get their bill emailed, but they still want to pay online. They can come in and you can even set up buttons, even buttons for things that we don't have the software. You can set it up and collect. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm paying my water bill. On this example, I have to tell it the account number because I didn't e-bill it. And then however much they want to pay, I'm going to say $77. Notice how it calculates the convenience fee. So it's 3% plus 35 cents. You get all your money. You get your money the next business day. So it's tightly integrated. So that's just another way that you can get money into the Assist software. Now, before we leave the financials, typically I don't cover payroll in this setting. If anybody in the audience wants to set up a time, we can do this, but it handles, all those different examples of employees doing different jobs and different rates of pay and allocating it to different departments and funds, but it's very tightly integrated. I thought we would go ahead and jump over to the utility billing. And like I said, I will stay on at the end if there's any questions, or you can always chat with me as well. Now, on the billing software, same look and feel. We do give you the ability to bill for unlimited metered, non-metered, and non-recurring charges. Anywhere, if you don't know that account number, tell me what you know. I can even look it up if I know the meter ID. And let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring up a customer. And you're going to have one screen where everything is set up about this customer. It's a true cycle billing. I can have multiple cycles or just one cycle, but I handle those customers that move in or move out mid-cycle. I also can have different class of customers. This is a code you can create, but I can pull reports based on this. So I've only got 3. You can have as many as you want. Status. When you go live, most of your customers are active. I could have somebody moving in and somebody being finalized at the same address. I can handle those, inactive customers that you're still billing, or inactive don't bill. They have skipped town. There's a balance. if they ever come back, you're going to be able to know they still owe you money. We also have a status for transfer. I can move somebody from Main Street to Elm Street. I can move the balance and the deposit to the new address, so we can move the money. I even have a status called vacant. Nobody's living here. I'm still reading that meter. I can give you a report. Is there any consumption? Now, we also have an integrated service order module. So I can automatically create service orders based on status. I've got a new customer, go get the reading. I've got a final or a transfer. So everything ties to the customer, but those are automatic, and we can do service orders for any type of event. Now, if you look down here at the customer, notice that they're the owner and the occupant, same person. If I uncheck one of these, I could say, send the bill to the renter. I want to know who the owner is, and maybe they want a copy. So I can pick and choose who gets a copy of the bill or the delinquent notice. Or maybe it's a different scenario where the owner is responsible, but I need to know who lives there. And once again, other people can get copies, or I can have a situation where somebody completely outside of town is responsible, but I'm tracking owners and occupants. That's really a nice feature if you have a lot of rental property where you're constantly switching it back and forth from owner to renter. It's easy to do. And we've got different addresses. Notice where it says paper bill. If customers go to your website to sign up to get their bill emailed instead of mailed, it automatically unchecks paper, it checks e-bill, and it stores their email address. So it's an interactive process. You don't have to remember. We've got customers that do bank drafts. You sign them up once, and instead of, they're still going to get a bill, but it says do not pay. All those payments are created electronically. You're not having to key those in. It's a great feature. Now, I also have a tab for metered services. A lot of our customers bill water, sewer, trash, but I have some that bill water, electric, and gas. There is no limit. Or maybe you've got 10 water meters at this one address. That's okay. They can all have different rates, different IDs and multipliers, booking routes, number of dials. We work with a very long list of automated reading solutions so that we can capture that reading. We also have unlimited non-meter charges. It could be a flat rate. It could be based on something. I can even do what I call a declining rate. And that's where, maybe they owe me $1,000 and I want to bill $10 each month until the 1,000 is paid off, and then it just stops. At any point, I know how much is left. I can have non-recurring charges, turn-ons, turn-offs, bad checks, as many as you want. We do all the accounting. We track deposits. What have you refunded? What's still on hand? And all that accounting. We've got other information. You even have these 15 user definable fields. You can keep track of, who's on your extension list. We do a lot of things with actions. We can automatically create an action if somebody gives you a bad check. You can also do an automatic one if they're disconnected. So you can create your own code. So give it a code, timestamp it, and you've got unlimited text to describe it and unlimited text on the reference number. So it's kind of a log of events where you can really make notations. And here we have attachments. You're going to see that in most of our products, just like you saw in accounts payable. Maybe they damaged a meter, you took a picture, or they sent you a letter, or maybe you have an application. So all those things can be attached. If you can attach it in an email, you can attach it to the software. So if this customer called me right now, I could go right to their inquiry and see all of the billing history and consumption history and payment history, plus other things. So our goal here is to give you one screen that if you get a call from a customer, you can answer that call. Maybe there's a question on a service order. I can see the service orders. I can drill down and get detail on any service order. Maybe they didn't get their bill. So you can come here and look at every bill you've sent, the date, the amounts, a breakdown by service. I could pick any one of these and I could reprint any bill and it says reprint. So going back 10 years, I can reprint those bills. Now, my guess is when they're calling, they've got really specific questions. Why is my water so high? So I can come here to transactions and maybe look at just metered services. I've only got one. If I had multiple, I could further break it out. So I could see when I billed, dates, amounts, balances, the reading, was it an actual or an estimate, the date of the reading, and the consumption. So once again, I can answer those questions. Or if they've got a question on maybe just a payment, how did you apply that $100 payment? I can drill down and see how it was applied across all those different charges. Or maybe they want a report of all their transactions. I could just this report for any date range and it's going to show all activity. So once again, everything on this screen to answer those questions. And we're going to ask you in the setup if you like Google Maps or Yahoo Maps, and we're going to take you to that property once you click on that. So in this case, it was the billing address. It could have been the service address. So let's go back here. Now, other things, if you look at daily, things that you might do on a daily basis, you might have a meter that needs to get changed in the middle of the billing process. I can take out the old, set the new. We're going to bill consumption on both. Maybe you are manually reading your readings. I can run this report so that they can go walk the routes and then you can key in those readings. Very fast and easy. You can jump around. We have a lot, though, that use our interface, and we have several that we work with. You just, in the setup, you pick which one. Part of our due diligence is making sure, yep, we've got yours. We're always adding more so that you're not having to key those readings in. They come in electronically. You still might have a couple you need to key in, which you can. So that's easy to do. I even have something that I call my Plan B. I can do a mass estimate if anything happens to Joe, the meter reader, or maybe the census units aren't working. So I can still get those bills out. Now, I've got a report here if I want to pull up my vacants and see if there's any consumption so I can be proactive. I've got this missing and questionable. Did I miss any readings or are there any readings out of range? I might want to go do a reread. Now, you can still enter in payments directly into the billing. We've talked about payments at the counter, payments on your website. We've talked about drafting payments. You probably still get a lot of checks in the mail. And so at any point, I could batch in, maybe I've got 20 checks here, and I can actually print a barcode and zap it so that I don't have to key in the account number. Or if I don't know it, I can look it up. But as soon as you select or key in that account number, it assumes it's a check. I can change it. It brings in the amount due. If they're paying 100%, I would probably just key in the check number. If they're not, I just come here and type in exactly what they did pay. It handles the over or payment. So if it's a credit or if that last service is short. But this is designed for just quick data entry and then to post. So that's something you might do on a daily basis is, key in those readings. Here is that option to download payments from the internet. You just run it. We grab the payments. We post the payments. You're not keying those in. We have the ability to reverse the payment. Maybe you've got a situation and the customer sent you a check and it bounced. So I can come here and I can pick, well, which one? It was this one down here. So I can put the charge back out there. At the same time, I'm going to charge them $35 for an NSF fee. And I'm going to create an action. They gave me a bad check. I can even have a warning now. Anytime they come into the counter or if I'm keying it in through the mail, give me a warning because we don't accept checks anymore. So you can do things like that. Now, jumping over to the billing process. We have a really nice feature that if you wanted to, I could do a billing every day. If I wanted to do a billing for one final person, I can do that. I can also do my normal billing. Now, let's say I select my normal billing and I've got a problem with two customers. I've got 1,000, so there's two that are problems. I can pull out those two and move forward with the 998. And then I'll run my edits, I'll calculate, I'll do my billing register, I'll print my bills. So I don't have to do everybody, even though they're normally in that group. Now, if customers signed up to get their bill emailed, we know don't print those bills. As soon as you hit post, the emails automatically go out with a link to go view their bill. So you're not attaching it, you're giving them a link to go look at that bill immediately. Now, we have some customers that have decided, hey, it's cheaper for Central Square to print our bills than it is for us. And if you add that option, as soon as you hit print, you can check the website, the status of your print job. So you're able to do everything else. We print it, and typically it's less, and it doesn't include your labor. So you're able to do other things instead of that day where you print the bills. That's just an option. You certainly don't have to, but a lot of times once you outsource, a lot of customers don't want to bring it back in-house again. We're also going to automate your delinquents. We can do a delinquent postcard or a delinquent letter. You can do your disconnects. And I can also automatically do an action if somebody gets disconnected and automatically put charges out there. So maybe it's a $25 disconnect fee. I don't have to do anything manual. It happens automatically. But on both of these, you can say, if they owe me $5, don't do the delinquent notice or don't do the disconnect. So you can do a threshold. You're going to find if you need to do an adjustment, we can adjust the balance immediately, right away. Also things like if you need to write off a balance, maybe everybody that has a balance under $1, you want to write it off, you can do things like that as well. You're going to find that we have a ton of reports, unlimited history. You're going to be able to pull out balance reports. One that I like is anybody can do a balance, but I can give you a balance for a different date. What were the balances on March 31st, 2017? I can go back in time, so I don't have to save those. But I'm going to also be able to pull out for any date range reports that you can see consumptions and dollars billed. I can even pull out reports, maybe just for one charge. Maybe the council wants to know, well, how many return checks have you had in the last 10 years and who got it? So things like that. I think you'll find that we have a ton of reports, unlimited history. Now, couple things before we end. I've got 6 minutes. One thing, we started talking about this at the beginning, the benefits of having that one database of names and addresses. Let's pretend like you get a call from one of your constituents and the only thing you know is their name. I can look up that person, and as you start adding products on one screen, I can see for that one customer all their tax bills, their utility accounts, their cemetery plots. Have they ever had any code violations? And if I click on any one of these, it takes me to that detailed record. Do they have a permit? Do they have a business license? So by knowing their name, I can all of a sudden see everything about that person. So as you start adding these products, if they have these activities, you can see it. Same exact thing for property. So we have a lot of our customers that will have us bring in from the county all the properties, who owns it, what's the valuation, so that you can see here, so that if, let's say you add code enforcement, I know who the owner is to send the letter, but I've got information on the property. I can also see what activity has happened there, what utility account is at that property, and I can drill down and go to that inquiry. Have there been any permits at that property, even though there's been different owners, or code violations? So I'm going to know even things like the legal description because the county has that on their file. So you can start building that database and see all the activity. But like I said, we've got tons of products to automate. your entire municipality. You can do it in baby steps or maybe never add these. We also have, public safety in courts as well. And the very last thing that we're going to take a peek at is our report designer. This is our tool that we give you access to all the fields so you can create any kind of report. You're going to have a dashboard. We deliver it with some that you can modify, but you're going to create your own. And let's say you've got a really long list and you want to search and find all your vendor reports because you can't remember which one. I can do a search. Or you can have your favorite ones at the top. Let's see, I just X'd out of that. You can have your favorite reports at the top of the screen. So, you can do favorites and it lumps them up at the top. There we go, I X'd out of it. Okay, now I want to show you a couple that I've created with this tool. One is, here's one that you can add actual drill down in a report. You've seen a lot of inquiry drill downs, but this is an example within the report. And I added a filter so you can run it for a certain point in time. And it's a vendor report. We'll just grab some here. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Notice this little icon right here. So if you see this, this is a feature when you create a report. What makes up this number? Here's the journal entry that created that. So you can say what's behind the number. It's perfect for a financial statement. You can also create any type of file from any report that you create. You can also obviously have different fonts in your logos. You can even have searches in your report. You're looking for a certain word. Or here's an example where we use this tool and it's a graphical report. Maybe the council would rather see, visuals instead of just numbers when looking at budget versus actual. So here's an example where we took the financial statement. So you've got budget versus actual for your different departments within your different funds, and you can see graphically the what percent make up. So that kind of gives you an idea. Now, most customers are going to use this to create new ones. And so I'm going to say payroll webinar July 23rd. I would give it a description. You pick which product. I'm going to say payroll. And then how do you want to go at the data? I'm going to say by employee. And the main thing that we're doing is we're giving you access literally to all of those fields in the database. So it's going to give you a blank slate. And over here on the right-hand side, these are all the different fields that we have in the payroll module that you can drag and drop to create any kind of report. Now, the top part, you're going to probably want to have, maybe your logo, so you can put a picture. You're going to put the name of the report. You just type in what the name is. Down in the middle, you're going to decide, what type of information. I'm going to say the name of the employee. I want maybe their, let's see, maybe I want their email. I want to know what department. And maybe I'm going to come up here and I want to know year-to-date payroll gross. So I've got literally every field. That could be a report. Somebody just wanted that information on a report. Now, you're probably going to want to put like a label, that's name and the label so that it prints what it is on the data. You can obviously go way more complex. You can have tables, you can have charts, you can have sparkle lines. You can come down here, maybe you're a large organization, you want a subtotal by department. So just to give you an idea, you could do something that simple, or you can do really complex reports, but we're giving you access to all of your data fields. These are all the fields on the employee table, on deduction benefits and pay types. And if you save it, you just rerun it again. But you can do filters, date range or exceptions. So once you do it, it's going to, save it down here. But this kind of gives you the ability on financials and utility billing to do any type of report. So I'm going to go ahead, and if there's any questions on anything you've seen today, I'm going to unmute and feel free to ask questions, or I'm going to go ahead and also bring up my contact information. So if you do have questions, or if you want to see a quote on anything, or maybe set up a time to see the payroll product, feel free to reach out. But I certainly thank everybody for their time today.